Well, for more on these elections, let's bring in Jason J. Smart. He is a political scientist and joins me live now from Kiev. Thanks very much for being with us. So clearly the deck is stacked in Putin's favor this time around, as with all the previous elections. He's been in power for more than 20 years now in Russia. But what should we be looking for in this election in terms of the level of enthusiasm in Russia and the likely voter turnout? What clues, if any, can we glean from that?
Well, I mean, it is sort of pageantry. I think it's pretty obvious that Putin is going to win re-election, and he'll probably win more than 70% of the vote. Historically, the lowest he's ever gotten is 65% of the vote. But at the same time, I think if we're going to see anything, it's going to be protest. And I think the way that people will protest, or the way that some of the opposition has talked about protesting, is that they will all show up to vote at the same time on election day at noon, wherever they are, just to show a mass of people. Keep in mind, formalized protest is essentially illegal in Russia. There's also not any opposition news. But if everybody were to show up to the polling stations at exactly noon on election day, it would just be, one, not illegal, but two, it would show that there is a larger group in the population that does not agree with the direction that Putin has taken his country.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly saw in the aftermath of Alexei Navalny's death, quite a large number, perhaps a surprisingly large number of Russians came out onto the streets to honor him and as also as a form of protest against Vladimir Putin. But how viable is that level of opposition right now after the death of Navalny, who was seen as kind of the only real challenge to Putin? I mean, it goes back to the point that Dasha made at the end of her report there. It's not clear where any opposition figure or opposition movement is going to come from in Russia.
Within Russia itself, no, there's not really an active opposition. There are people obviously doing things against the regime or oppose the regime, but they are sort of extremely limited in what they can actually do. Outside the country, there is an active opposition of people such as Garry Kasparov, Mikhail Khodorkovsky, and others who are doing things against the Putin regime. That being said, within the country itself, it is quite challenging. There is just a limit of options. I mean, Russia is now just today fined Google for not limiting videos on YouTube that are opposed to the Putin regime. It's also trying to outlaw VPNs so people cannot get news from outside sources. And this is just part of the larger systematic repression that there is in Russia and the lack of democracy. That being said, the population is increasingly looks dissatisfied. And we see that just simply in what they're searching for on the internet. We see that they are searching for things that would indicate that they're not happy about the war in Ukraine. They're not happy about being drafted to go to the war in Ukraine. And they're not happy about the economy. The country does have a number of problems right now, and the government's not able to cope with them.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Good to get your thoughts, Jason J. Smart. Thanks for being with us.